Right, so I have a little bit of a controversial message about sales. You know how everyone says like you need to follow up your leads super quickly. You basically need to reply immediately. And how everyone says like when you cold call, you gotta make like 200 dials a day, and things like that. So in my experience, there's actually sometimes helps, but it actually also a reason that can keep you stuck when you think too much about volume and when you don't have enough quality, because that's the trade-off that you make if you really think about it. You know, if you do 200 cold calls a day and you do one dial after the other dial, you're training yourself to uh, overcome that anxiety and to take action and to operate well. So that's a good thing. But the problem is that comes at a cost. And the cost is the quality of the interactions goes down. The same thing when you are following up with leads, when you're setting the dials. If you are busy with something and you reply immediately to the leads, you know, that's going to be really difficult when your mind is in another state thinking about something else. You know, when you, it depends what type of appointment setting you do, but if you want to set a good quality appointment, you're not just talking about, hey, meet me there at that time. You're actually doing a sales work, right? You have to be there for them. You have to be able to listen to them. You have to be able to probe their pain, see what they need. And that takes effort. So, you know, if you do too much about volume and urgency and things like that, it can keep you stuck. That's the reality, you know. I think it's always important to consider things from multiple angles. And actually, opposites can be true at the same time. For example, volume can be good, but volume can also be bad. The real trick and what really makes someone, the difference between someone who's skilled and someone who's not skilled, is that you can figure out all the nuances, especially for yourself, like in the first place for yourself, because you know that's the most important person you should pay attention to at the end of the day, right? Because you are responsible for your results. So if you don't manage yourself properly and if you take things too literally, like all these gurus, like you're not going to get anywhere. You can use them, for example, Alex Hormozy and you know all these other business mentors. You can use them as a stepping stone, but don't use them as fundamental truth, because they're not deep scientists, they're not deep truth seekers, they're just really good business people. That doesn't mean that they don't have truth. Even really good scientists and really good truth seekers make a lot of mistakes. Everyone makes a lot of mistakes. But my point of the video is, you know, don't take these gurus too literally. Treat them as a stepping stone and treat them as things. Absorb what they give you to actually think about it, but don't treat it as dogma, is what I'm saying. Go back to the volume thing. That's the thing that I also notice, like in many areas of life, like even when I'm working here, even when I used to do cold approaches here and still sometimes do. Volume can be good. Again, it treats you, really challenges your psyche sometimes. But if you want to come from a place of quality, if you want to actually treat an interaction as something valuable, you want to have the actual good interaction with someone, then you have to keep purifying yourself. And that means you can't call 100 people a day and expect 100 good interactions. It's sometimes better to just do 30 or even 20 interactions, but have like really good quality of it. Really try to challenge yourself to make your psyche clear, to make your mind clear, to make your intentions clear, to make sure that you're coming from a good place. That matters a lot in my experience. Now, again, that doesn't mean that volume doesn't play a part. It definitely does, but it can keep you stuck, is my experience. And when you think about this, even start applying it if it resonates with you. At the same time, don't treat this as an excuse to be lazy, because it can become an excuse if you think, well, I can't do volume, I need to have quality, I'm just going to do 2 interactions a day. The probable answer, like, it will depend on your situation, but the most likely answer will be you'll need some kind of balance, right? So really feel out what is the most productive for you and what you need the most, and go from there. So, for example, with cold calls, you can do 200 dials a day, you can do 300 dials a day. But that's only really true if you're starting out. Someone who is really new won't even be able to do that. But what I'm saying is, even the fact that you're doing 200 or 300 cold calls a day means that you have a lead list that's big enough that doesn't burn out. So most likely you're calling smaller business owners instead of like the medium type of companies or even the enterprise type of companies. There's no way you're going to do 200, 300 cold calls to enterprise companies, right? There's just no way. When you have a good opportunity, you want to treat it the right way, right? Don't just spam it. And I'm not saying, guys, that every enterprise is an opportunity. It depends on how people are as well. It's not just the size of the company, right? It's also the character of the company, the character of the people, character of the CEO, director, and everyone else involved. So for me, it's about finding a balance. If I do too much volume, I lose quality. If I try to just focus on quality, then I feel like sometimes I'm making excuses as well. So it's really about always finding the right way. That would be my message. And I'm going to end the video here. I hope there was value in it. I'm sure there was, not saying I can't make better videos, not saying that, but it doesn't mean that what I said isn't true, right? Anyway, check out my next video if you want. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.